well, you can grow an awful lot of veg in containers. Great way of producing a few fruit and veg on the patio, isn't it? If you haven't got much of a garden and you've got small space, or even if you have got a big garden or an allotment, it's nice to have a few by the back door where it's easy to harvest them.
This one's a blueberry.
Nice blueberry bush. It's very early in the season. It's just starting to shoot, this one.
And it's in a pot for very good reason, because it likes a more acidic soil, so it likes an ericaceous compost. So quite a lot of people have to grow them in containers to get that. But early spring, it's a good time to top dress them and give them a bit of fertiliser. It's had some of this here, which is the Miracle Grow Azalea, Camellia and Rhododendron slow release plant food. So this basically is specifically for plants that like an acidic soil, because they do need nutrients, or certainly nutrients that they can access, and this is what this fertiliser is good for feeding blueberries. This is slow release, which means it's a pelleted form, which means that you sprinkle it on the top and it'll gradually give off its nutrients to the plant as and when the plant needs it. And you only need just about 2 handfuls for a pot this size, and you just sprinkle it around the plant. And then it's a good idea to actually give a little bit of a top dressing of compost, some fresh compost.
Yeah, in this case, because we've got lime-free compost, so just sprinkle it over the top. Make sure you give it a good water first, and then when you top dress it, it will help hold the water into the pot for a bit longer.
And give it another good watering, and that should set it up for the season.
It should. And you haven't got to keep thinking, oh, I must feed that pot, because it's in there for a good 6 months.
6 months. Another one actually similar to this is the Miracle Grow. It's a sort of a multi-purpose feed. So that really will feed most things, won't it? I mean, you could use it on most shrubs and veg and
anything in a pot, really.
I mean, it's a good thing to use if you're the sort of person that kind of forgets to feed and just want to put something on. And
hanging baskets too. If you've got tomatoes in hanging baskets, that's quite a good thing to use. Got another sort here, similar sort of thing really, but in a pellet form. So it's a plant food tablets. It's controlled release, which, as we've been saying, means that it gradually releases its nutrients over 6 months.
I mean, that one's even easier. You can't. It's completely foolproof, because it actually comes in little pellets. So the pellets are sort of together. So you literally just insert one of the pellets into, say, a hanging basket or pot. It depends on the size of the pot you might need. So for a pot this size, for example, you might need 3 or 4 of those.
Oh, I'd say so. Yeah. Don't have to worry about feeding for the rest of the season.
Another good feed to get is, if you're a fruit and veg grower, is tomato food. This one's Big Tom Superfood from Westland.
It's quite a new one, isn't it?
Yeah. This one's high in potash, which means it's very good for flowering and fruiting plants. So it will really encourage a lot of fruit production, which is why it's good for tomatoes. But it's not just good for tomatoes. You can use it on aubergines, peppers, anything that's fruiting really. I mean, if you've got even your squashes in the ground. And the good thing about it is obviously being a liquid feed, you know, during the spring and summer when you need a little bit of extra water around the plant, add some of this to the water and you're feeding it as well as watering the plants. So it's a really useful product to have in the fruit and veg garden.
It is, yeah. Use it all the time.
And you can use it for potted fruit as well in the summer when you give them a liquid feed. Yeah. And then Grow More is a classic. This one's a good one for vegetable growing. Particularly good for sort of sprinkling on the soil before you sow, maybe a couple of weeks before you sow. Not too soon before you sow, because sometimes fertilisers, if you're sowing immediately after applying fertiliser, it can actually affect germination, can't it?
That's right, a little bit too strong, isn't it?
Yeah, and this one, it's called, it's an NPK. It's got nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium are the key ingredients of the fertiliser, but there's also other little micronutrients as well. But those 3 nutrients are pretty key in all the fertilisers. And quite often on the back of the package you'll see an NPK ratio. Yeah. And Grow More has got an NPK ratio of 777, which means it's basically got equal amounts of nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium, which means it's a very, very general, multi-purpose. It'll help for the foliage, flowers, fruit and rooting. So that's what it. So it means a balanced feed. It means it's good for generally all-round purpose, multi-purpose.
And if you prefer to be organic, a sort of organic version of that might be the chicken manure pellets that you can get. Tend to be a little bit higher in nitrogen, I think, those, but still got a nice broad
general
range.
sort of balance. Yeah.
So that would be an organic version, if you like, of the Growmore.
Whereas your tomato feed, as I've said, is more high in potassium, which is again to encourage more fruiting and flowering.
So if you feed your containers perhaps once every couple of weeks through the growing season, it really boosts the crops, keeps the plants growing and healthy, helps them to deter pests and diseases, and it is just a great way of growing fruit and veg.